Hello, everybody. Let me have a sound check. Shay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. My laptop froze up a little bit there. Sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and read my video conference script that has to be done, and then we'll go ahead and start the meeting. So thanks for joining us for the Oklahoma City Traffic and Transportation Commission's video conference meeting. We have a few announcements to make regarding the virtual meeting. If the video conference is disconnected at any time during the meeting will be stopped and reconvened once the audio connection is restored. If communications are unable to be restored within 30 minutes, items remaining for consideration will be continued to the Commission's next regularly scheduled meeting on 19 July 2021 via in person. Agenda for today's meeting is located on okc.gov. Anyone wishing to speak about an agenda item, public hearing, or to speak under citizens to be heard, please call 405-297-2531 or email chastity.walsh@okc.gov. Speakers will be allowed 5 minutes to comment. I ask that all participants, except the commissioners, the commission members, keep the phones on mute until they are recognized to speak. Commissioners will be allowed to ask questions or comments at any time during the meeting. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting in order, verify our quorum, and then we'll begin the meeting. So let me get rid of this. And let me go over here. Commissioner Varnell.
Here.
Commissioner Littlefield. Okay, Commissioner Littlefield is not. Commissioner Russell.
Here.
Okay, gotcha. Commissioner Hale.
Here, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Schuline.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Thank you very much. Commissioner George.
Here.
Okay, and Commissioner Cornett.
Here.
Okay, so the only one not here is Commissioner Littlefield.
Chairman Cooley, Mr. Littlefield did call me earlier today to let me know that he had some unexpected knee surgery, which is the reason why he's not in attendance.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that. So we'll need a motion to approve the minutes of the April 19, 2021 meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Commission. Okay.
I move approval of the minutes. Kevin, George.
Okay.
Either.
Do we have a second?
Varnell seconds.
Varnell seconds. Okay, so let's see here.
Are you able to see your voting screens, commissioners?
No.
Yes. I've seen
Yeah.
mine and voted, and
Yes.
So did I.
Okay. Kulik, are you able to see yours? Commissioner Littlefield, what do you vote?
He's absent.
Oh, he's not here. I'm sorry. He's the one that's gone. Commissioner Miller, what do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner
Kula
Kula,
votes
what
aye.
do you vote?
Kula votes aye.
And Commissioner Varnell?
Yes.
And I'm really sorry here. Okay, I'm very sorry. I'm not able to stay current and do things here. Okay, there it is. I now got the OKC viewer and I voted yay. Okay.
That voting screen came back up for some
Yeah, I
reason.
know. I see that now. I'm trying to click out of that. There we go. Okay, thank you. All right, so it's just not me. All right. So I'm sorry, but I did not see the vote. So am I correct to say it was all in favor and all 8? were-
Yes. 8-0.
Correct.
Okay, so motion has passed 8-0, all in favor. Okay, so we go on now to reports on license and taxi and record services. Do we have that today, Mr. Chai?
No, that will be at the July meeting, I believe.
Okay, so we'll have it at the July meeting. So we'll go on now to the consent docket. There's 4 items on the consent docket. Is there anybody here to speak against the consent docket of one of the items on there? Okay, there's nobody to speak on it. Staff, do you have any input on that?
No, all the items that appear on that docket are there because they will meet some form of warrant, and therefore they're being recommended for approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on that docket.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Do we have a motion concerning the consent docket?
I move approval of the consent docket.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner George. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Cornett. Do we have any talk about the consent item? Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent docket from Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Cornett. We're standing by for the voting buttons, I believe. There it is. Thank you.
My screen just changed drastically.
Yeah,
Oh, there we go.
okay, I was able to vote.
Commissioner Miller, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, very good. So all 8 voted to approve and the item has passed. So the consent docket has passed. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the next item. There it is. Item 5A. Call it up here. Item 5A, a traffic signal at the intersection of John Kilpatrick Turnpike, eastbound ramps, and West Wilshire Boulevard. Do we have anybody here to speak on this item? Okay, we have no one to speak on this item. Staff, can I have
Chairman,
Yes.
David and Carolyn are on the call. They're the applicants for this, the Hayes family.
Oh, okay.
I would love to hear from them.
Well, of course. I didn't hear anything. David, are you there?
Mr. Hayes, you may, if you're on your phone, you may need to hit the star and 6 to unmute yourself.
There we go. It's unmuted now.
Hello?
There you go.
Yeah, there you are, David. I got you.
Okay.
So give us your name and your address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to talk about your item.
David Hayes, and I'm at 716 South Willowwood Drive. Mailing address, Yukon. Live in Oklahoma City. We'd like to see a traffic light or a stop sign or some way to control the westbound traffic on West Wilshire there. They come up a hill and you can't see them until they're on top of you. They can't see you either, coming off the turnpike. We regularly go through that intersection, go shopping or to visit our son who lives on Northwest 70th. It's not like we're going to work, we're both retired.
Okay, sir, do you have anything else to talk about this item?
I don't know exactly what you need.
No, we just wanted to have some input for you on why you might have put this item on, and
Well, to us,
just
it's
had
a,
anything else, we just wanted you to give you the opportunity to speak.
it's a dangerous situation. People heading west come up a hill and they can't see you, and we can't see them. We're coming off the turnpike.
Okay. All right. Do we have anybody else that's wanted to speak on item 5A? Okay, staff, can we have your input?
All right. Well, you've got our comments before you. Probably this particular intersection doesn't meet any of the signal warrants based on traffic conditions. One thing that is unusual at this particular location is that when we conducted our speed study, we found that the 85th percentile running speed on Wilshire Boulevard is up around 49 miles an hour. This particular location was reposted several years back to 35 miles an hour in order to address sight distance deficiency. Because ordinarily for a 45 mile an hour speed limit, you'd need 690 feet of available decision sight distance. Reducing the speed limit to 35 dropped that to 385. However, the prevailing speed on this road is up around 49. And currently, based on our speed study, we're getting about 13% of drivers are adhering to the posted speed limit. Based on what they are driving, our sight distance requirements, if you're traveling around 50 miles an hour, is 750 feet. So as you can see from from some of the photographs we've shown you, that there is not sufficient sight distance to be able to exit the turnpike if traffic is not adhering to the posted speed limit. But from collision experience standpoint and from traffic volumes, the intersection doesn't meet any of the criteria for considering the use of a traffic signal. So action on this item is going to be at the discretion of the commission, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have relative to the application.
All right, thank you very much, staff. Can we have a motion concerning item 5A?
Motion to disapprove.
Okay, we have a motion to disapprove from Commissioner Hale. Do we have a second on this motion?
Second from Varnell.
Second from Commissioner Varnell. Okay, so there's a motion to disapprove. It's been seconded. Do we have any talk on this item?
I have a few things to say. I'm through this intersection a lot. And based on Stewart's recommendation there, I didn't even need to see that. It's a speed problem there. And a traffic control device like a stoplight is not, I don't think, the answer to reduce speed. That's not what those things are for. So, and with the lack of pedestrian traffic along that area, I don't see where this warrants anything. And Stewart proved that with the numbers that he provided.
So the question I have for you all is there a intersection warning sign or anything that's posted up around there? Well, the speed limit is 35, you said, right? Which is the speed limit for the
That's
site
correct.
distance.
The limit is posted 35 in that area. And as far as intersection advisory signs, the Turnpike does have signs letting you know that their ramp terminal or their ramp connections are coming ahead because they've got the fees associated with using the Turnpike posted.
So this would be a place for Captain Henry to send a bike patrol out there, probably? You think you could ask for some help out in that area?
We can certainly turn that over to the police department, absolutely.
Right. Okay, any other talk on item 5A?
I have a question for Stuart. Stuart, did you look at this intersection as a possible stop sign? There's another item coming up later that kind of falls back to a stop sign instead of a stoplight. Did you look at that? And would that help in this situation?
Well, in this particular case, the manual on uniform traffic control devices does allow you to look at using always stop control in the event that a location, may meet a traffic signal warrant. But in this particular case, it didn't meet any warrant. And in the other case that you're talking about that's coming up later in the agenda, from a traffic perspective, it didn't meet any warrants, but it did meet warrants or traffic warrants, but it did meet warrants based on its collision history. That's kind of that's what differentiates the later application to the one that's before you right now, is the fact that this one doesn't meet any warrants of any type.
Right. Well, with our sight distance is off by what, 300 or 400 feet, because they're driving at close to 50. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, my guess, and unfortunately, I think that if we give this a year or two, it will meet the crash criteria. If there's that much of a sight distance issue. But, if you haven't really looked at stop on that, I'd hate to just make a motion to do that. I don't know that we can even do that. But it might be something that should be looked at instead of waiting for the crash numbers to go up to meet the criteria. Anyway.
Well, I'd also like to say, when you look at the throughput of traffic, 5,000 on Wilshire and only 1,000 coming off of the Kilpatrick. Staff, would those numbers warrant a four-way stop, just in numbers?
In this particular case, no, because if to use an all-way stop in a situation like this, ideally you like to have traffic being relatively balanced. And in this particular case, you're looking at a 5-to-1 ratio, so it's not all that equivalent.
Yeah. So the problem is we just got to slow people down on Wilshire.
That's correct, and we'll be in contact with the police department about getting enforcement. Because the 85th percentile is running well over 10 miles above the posted limit, which is pretty significant.
Yes.
Right. Now, is there any signage or anything we could do to help slow it down, especially from the sight distance side, where you could maybe put there?
What about a yellow blinking light?
With respect to controlling speed at that location, our experience is that using a warning flasher does not necessarily get driver compliance.
Oh, okay.
Okay, very good. Okay, any other talk on item 5A? Okay, there's the viewer. Okay, so we have a motion to disapprove from Commissioner Hale with a second from Commissioner Varnell. We'll get it up here on the screens here real shortly, I believe. There it is. Okay, you can go ahead and vote.
Commissioner Miller, how do you vote?
I see no reason to overturn staff's recommendations, so nay.
Oh, yeah.
Nay would be overturned.
Yeah.
You agree with staff?
Yes, I agree with staff.
So then it would be a yay,
Yes.
because it's a motion to disapprove.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, sir. The item did not pass. The motion did get approved. The item did not pass. And it was an 8-0 vote. Okay, we're ready to move on now to 5B.
Commissioners, I was contacted by the applicant for this particular matter, John Milner. He is traveling today and asked for his item to be continued to the commission's next meeting.
Okay, very good. Can I have a motion from somebody for that, please?
Barnell, motion to continue to the next meeting.
Burnett seconds.
Okay, so Commissioner Varnell made a motion to move this agenda item to the 19 July 2021 meeting, and it was seconded by Commissioner Cornett. We'll have to have the vote button come up here in a second. There we go, it's coming up.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Just standing by, waiting for the results to pop up.
it showed up and it went away. I don't know why. But everyone voted for the motion.
Okay, so all 8 voted in favor of moving this item to the 19 July 2021 meeting. So it was 8-0, okay? And we'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is 5C. And that's Dr. Frida Diskin, Chief Executive Officer, Aztec Charter Schools and the Traffic Management Division, to 1, a traffic signal at the intersection of North Villa Avenue and General Pershing Boulevard, and or 2, addition of stop control on North Villa Avenue at General Pershing Boulevard to establish all-way stop control. Do we have anybody here to speak on this item?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, hello, ma'am.
Hi there.
If I may have your name, your address, and then you'll have up to 5 minutes to talk about your item.
Okay, Frida Deskin. My home address is 131 Dean A. McGee Avenue, Loft 307, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73102. The issue that I'd like to visit about is the traffic on Villa that goes north and south. There, in the past couple of years, as you are aware, there have been a number of entities that have moved in along General Pershing and Villa. Our public charter school that just opened in September, and then we have Remerge, we have North Care, we have Positive Tomorrows, and most recently, the homeless shelter there on the corner of Villa and General Pershing. When you try to get to Villa, which is a one-way, which is the only way you can come from General Pershing, it's very difficult to get out into the traffic because there's so much traffic there. And it's difficult to see when you are trying, because of on the right of General Pershing and Villa, which would be the southwest corner, is a salvage yard with a fence. And so it's very difficult to see and it's very difficult to get there. And we're noticing more and more foot traffic as well with the new homeless shelter. So for this safety, for the number of cars that are now coming down General Pershing, and of course the traffic on Villa, that we do something to make that a safer intersection.
There we go. Again, my system's running slow. I'm sorry for that. Okay, do you have anything else you'd like to say, Doctor?
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else wanting to speak on item 5C? All right, staff, can we have your input, please, sir?
All right, you've got our basic staff comments in front of you. One thing that's different about this particular application is we as staff have included a second part to the application, which would be the and/or consideration of using always stop control at this particular location. You see the volumes on Villa Avenue, as Dr. Deskin mentioned, they're running about 5,600 vehicles per day. The volumes that we get on Villa are about half that at 2,500 daily. The one thing which makes this intersection stand out from the one that you looked at previously over at the Kilpatrick exit and at Wilshire Boulevard is that this intersection has an unusual collision history. In 2019, there were 21 collisions recorded, and of those, 17 were right angle types, which, according to the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, is a type that could be corrected by use of either traffic signal or even the use of always stop control, which is one of the reasons why we had made that an alternative recommendation. We did do a speed study on this particular road, and the 85th percentile speed on Villa was running right at the speed limit. So from that perspective, there's no unusual circumstance. This intersection doesn't meet any of the traffic volume related warrants for using a traffic signal. It just meets the collision experience. So at this point in time, what we did is we ran a signal warrant analysis, and we also ran an always stop analysis. We found that that this intersection is warranted for traffic controls for either a signal or always stop based on its collision history. We did do one extra thing, and we did run a delay analysis for it based on these two different types of traffic controls. And the intersection, granted, any use of any form of traffic control will incur additional delay to people traveling through it. Traffic is already stop controlled on General Pershing. In this particular case, if traffic was stopped, if additional controls put on Villa Avenue, it would require drivers on Villa literally to stop twice, once at the southern intersection and once at the northern intersection. But the overall delay to drivers, while it will increase, stays within a reasonable level of service, whether you look at it from a traffic control perspective, where you're using a traffic signal, or whether you use always stop control. Another thing that's different about this particular intersection is that it's kind of a confluence point where two Tier 1 bicycle facilities, basically protected bicycle lanes, are proposed. One is already mostly complete on General Pershing, and there's one that's planned that's set to be just like it on Villa. And when that one goes in, the only way to accommodate that lane would be to reduce the number of lanes on Villa from its current 4-lane configuration to a 2-lane configuration. Anyway, with all that presented for your consideration, considering that the intersection does meet criteria for considering either a traffic signal or always stop based on its collision experience, at this point in time, we would be more inclined to recommend the use of an always stop control as opposed to traffic signal, but action on the item will be at the discretion of the commission. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you very much, staff. Do we have a motion concerning item 5C?
Chairman, I move the application be accepted with going with option B, with always stop control as recommended by staff.
Okay, so for 5C, you are making a motion to approve paragraph 2.
Yes, sir.
And I second.
And we have, that was from Shoeline, and we have a second from Commissioner George.
Correct.
Okay, got it. All right, do we have any talk on this item?
I have a question. Stuart, you mentioned people on Villa having to stop twice. With a stoplight, wouldn't that be able to be timed where that's not, they don't have to stop twice, but with stop signs, they would have to stop twice? So we're essentially adding in a secondary stop?
That's correct. Because when we looked at this intersection, because there's like 180, either 150 or 180 feet between the east and westbound lanes on General Pershing, if this was run as a traffic signal, it would be run in the same manner as most traffic signals you would find at like a highway interchange, where you would enter one approach, and as you entered the intersection and got to the next signal, it would also be green waiting for you. But in that way, someone who was, say, eastbound would be able to either continue straight to the east, or they'd be able to turn left and go north, and there'd be a green light waiting for them. But that means using signal control, you would serve one approach at a time. You'd serve the eastbound movement, and then the northbound movement, and then westbound and southbound, and you'd cycle around the intersection like that.
Okay.
If you use always stop control, granted you would stop twice if you're on Villa, but on General Pershing, you'd only stop the one time where you cross Villa. And the reason why using either one of these methods of traffic control could be considered at this location is because since there's only a single lane moving in any direction, both of these methods will accommodate left turns. Because when you arrive at the front of the line and either you get a green light or it's your turn to go from the stop sign, you'll have the ability to turn left without having to worry about conflicting traffic and being delayed by that.
Which
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that does, absolutely. Which do you feel is better for, obviously, the existing bike lanes, the bike lanes that are coming in, as well as pedestrian traffic? It sounds like there's quite a bit more pedestrian traffic in the area. I would imagine that actual stop signs are better for both, right?
Well, I would say that always stop control would probably be a safer means of regulating the intersection. It may not be more efficient, but it can certainly be a safer means.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, do we have somebody else that wants to speak on this item? Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Shoeline to approve item 5C2, seconded by Commissioner George, and we'll wait for our vote buttons to come up. Okay, we have our vote buttons.
Commissioner Miller, how do you vote?
Aye.
My vote button did not appear, have not appeared. Kevin
Okay,
Gould,
what is your,
I vote
what is
yes.
your vote?
Yes. Approve. This stops.
Okay, there's the results. The item does pass 8-0.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
All right, yes, doctor. Okay, we now move on to item 5D. Timothy W. Johnson, PE, President, Johnson and Associates, Inc., to consider, 1, remove the 2-hour time-limited parking control on the south side of Northwest 4th Street between North Chartel Avenue and North Lee Avenue. 2, establish a reserved parking space for the physically disabled within a proposed on-street parking area on the south side of Northwest 4th Street from approximately 145 feet east to 167 feet east of the east curb line of North Chartel Avenue. 3, remove the no parking anytime restriction on the east side of North Chartel Avenue from Dean McGee Avenue to Northwest 4th Street. And 4, establish a reserved parking space for the physically disabled within a proposed on-street parking area on the east side of North Chautel Avenue from approximately 183 feet south to 205 feet south of the south curb line of Northwest 4th Street. Mr. Johnson, are you on?
This is Caleb Morgan with Johnson Associates.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay, great. If I could have your name, your address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to talk about it.
This is Caleb Morgan with Johnson Associates, 1 East Sheridan, Oklahoma City. We appreciate staff and their review. This is an apartment complex with indoor parking in the core of the building. And we're looking to put on-street parking for visitors and with ADA spaces and the time restriction removal and meter parking removal for those spaces. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Anybody else wanted to speak on item 5D? All right, staff, can we have your input, please?
All right, well, you've got our comments before you. One thing I'm going to comment on right up front is the applicants got 2 reserved parking spaces for the physically disabled proposed in their application. The reason that they have done that is because when we reviewed this particular item, based on the number of existing structured on-street parking spaces on the circular block of which this is a part, there weren't any. So what they've done is they've incorporated enough ADA spaces in their application to bring this particular block into full compliance with ADA requirements. So that is a plus. The only other thing that's unusual about the application is that they are requesting the removal of the current parking, the no parking anytime restriction on Chautel Avenue, which is not particularly that unusual because right now it's a 4-lane facility and there's not been any space available for parking, but they are building an inset parking area, so there should be no issues there. The other thing is they're doing is proposing to remove the existing 2-hour time limited parking control that's on 4th Street, which will create basically an unregulated parking zone. And in all the surrounding areas, it's parking on 4th Street. It's either limited to 2 hours by signs, or further on to the east, it's limited to 2 hours by using parking meters. And aside from that, action on this item will be at the discretion of the commission, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have a motion concerning item 5D?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Schuline. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I'll second
Okay.
the motion.
No, we have a second from, no, it's you, Ms. Cornett. So we have a second from Commissioner Cornett. All right, do we have any discussion on item 5D?
I'm assuming the applicant is fine with bearing the responsibility of making all the public improvements.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Any other talk on item 5D?
I do. I have a question again for Stuart. On removing the 2-hour window there on 4th Street, it's different from everywhere around it, especially along 4th Street. Does that concern you in any way?
Well, if I had to express a concern, it would be that perhaps from the applicant's standpoint, that the parking spaces that they build there may be used by people who would choose to use on-street, free all-day parking on the street, because all the other areas surrounding it are time limited. I mean, you can have either 2 hours where you don't pay a meter, or you can have 2 hours where you do pay a meter. And I would tend to think that these particular spaces will be probably highly sought after once people figure out that, you can park downtown all day without having to worry about getting a ticket. So that would make them an oddity. But now I also note that in the recommendations that, if this becomes an issue in the future, parking controls can always be reestablished. So that's always an option for the future.
Okay.
So what I would think is that the applicant is wanting to drop that so the apartment people can park there. Is that right, Mr. Morgan?
That is correct, or visitors to the people in the apartment. And the owner, the developer of the property understands Mr. Chai's concerns. And like he mentioned, if this becomes a problem in the future, we could establish the regulated parking again.
So it's your intent that if somebody's having somebody come over to their apartment, that they would park there, stay 3-4 hours, and they would be able to park there, not pay, and then
That's correct.
Leave.
That's correct.
And my concern is those spots are already going to be filled by people either working downtown or somewhere else because it's free all day instead of.
That's a risk, and I suppose the owner of the property is willing to take that risk. And if it becomes a problem, they'll monitor, and if it becomes a problem, we can reinstate the parking restriction.
Okay, I'll go along with you then.
Okay. All right, anybody else have any comments on item?
A quick question. How will the bicycle lanes, their installation affect our decision today?
I can answer that if you'd like me to. We worked with the Bike Walk OKC plan, and we went over this with Stuart and the staff, and the proposed parking and its layout will allow for the future development of the Bike Walk OKC plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and if you will look at page 12 on this particular application, you'll see that the applicant provided a rendering that shows the combination of the parallel parking laybys and how the bike lanes that are going to be added to Chartel and Northwest 4th Street, how they will all be built together.
This is the item that had the bus stop issue too, didn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Has any more communication been done with Embark about what that's going to look like, or?
Yes, we've had some back and forth with Embark. We've sent them a proposed layout for the new location of the bus stop. It's just moving down the street, I think about 100 feet or so, but they're aware of the location, and we've gone as far as we can at this point. They said we have to wait until everything is approved, and then we'll coordinate further with them to get it constructed in the new location.
And they're aware this is on the item today and everything?
I'm not sure if they're aware of this particular item, as it doesn't address specifically the bus stop, but the parking. So they may be. We copied them on most of our correspondence, so I don't think this is a big concern to them, but I'm sure they're aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and just for your information, when we send this particular item out, we do copy a number of people over at Embark. So, you know, if they've read through the agenda, they'll be aware that this application was being heard today.
Any other talk on item 5D? Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5D from Commissioner Schuline, second by Commissioner Cornett. And when it pops up, let me have you vote, please. There it is.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner George,
Aye.
There it is. The item has passed with a vote of 8-0. All in favor. Okay, we now go on to item 5E. George Marquez, PE, Senior Project Manager, Civil and Environmental Consultants, Inc. 1, to establish 90-degree angle parking with a setback parking area on the west side of Orchard Avenue from approximately 152 feet north to approximately 314 feet north of the north curb line of Lakeland Drive. And 2, and item 2, to establish 2 reserved parking spaces for the physically disabled on the west side, of Orchard Avenue from approximately, my screen ran out of here. There it is. let me reread 2. Establish 2 reserved parking spaces for the physically disabled on the west side of Orchard Avenue from approximately 228 feet north to approximately 255 feet north of the north curb line of Lakeland Drive. Okay, got that done. Do we have anybody here to speak on this item?
Yes. Hello, this is George Marquez, Senior
Yes,
Project
sir.
Manager.
If I could have your address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to talk on this item.
Okay. Again, George Marquez with Civil and Environmental Consultants at 4045 Northwest 64th Street in Oklahoma City, 73116. So this is a single-family residential development, and the parking spaces that we're proposing are for the common area, which will contain a clubhouse and park. And so I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Anybody else wanted to speak on item 5E? Okay, staff, can we have your input, please, sir?
All right, you've got our comments before you. This will be a discretionary item for the commission. The particular addition that he's talking about has not started. The roads have not been built in it yet, so this is an amenity that the developer is seeking to go along with other amenities being provided within the addition. The stalls that are being proposed meet what we are going to be proposing as the minimum stall depth for 90-degree angle spaces. They've got adequate setback away from the neighboring proposed addition or intersections. So at this time, we're recommending approval. Well, action will be at the discretion of the commission, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you very much. Can I have a motion concerning item 5E?
Move approval of the application.
We have a motion from Commissioner George to approve item 5E.
Second by Varnell.
I'm sorry?
Second by Varnell.
And a second by Commissioner Varnell. Any discussion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I have one question for staff. I know the proposed parking dimension that's being proposed that we'll be looking at in the future, it made mention in this proposal. They 21 feet for backing out, and they missed that by 4 feet. Why can that not be accommodated now since none of this has been built?
That could be a question you might want to direct to the applicant. I mean, they could potentially make it deeper, but in this particular case, these are probably going to be relatively low volume roadways. I mean, the Orchard Avenue is an interior roadway within the addition. In a lot of cases, based on the type of roadway facilities we're looking at, this is really not that much different than what people would ordinarily experience when like backing out of a driveway, their own driveway. So I tend to think there will probably be enough maneuvering room, and the prevailing speed should be low enough in order to accommodate this.
Okay, and it looks to me like it'll also serve as a little calming effect also.
It could.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wanted to speak on item 5E? Okay, we have a motion to approve 5E, Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Varnell. Vote when it pops up, please.
Hey.
Commissioner Miller, how would you like to vote?
I vote aye.
Okay, the item has passed 8-0. Okay, we'll now move on to item 5F. All right, 5F is George Marquez, PE, Senior Project Manager, Civil and Environmental Consultants, Inc. 1, established 90-degree angle parking within a setback parking area on the west side of Verbena Circle from approximately 50 feet south to approximately 205 feet south of the south curb line of Thistle Terrace, And 2, establish 2 reserved parking spaces for the physically disabled on the west side of Verbena Circle from approximately 132 feet south to approximately 159 feet south of the south curb line of Thistle Terrace. Okay, sir, you already gave us your name and your address. You have up to 5 minutes to talk about this item.
Okay, again, this is similar to the previous development that you just saw. It is actually west of that other development. And again, it's providing spaces for a common area that's gonna have a park and clubhouse. So I'll answer any questions anybody may have.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have anybody else wanting to speak on item 5F? Okay, staff, can we have your input, please?
Okay, our comments are basically identical to the previous item that you just heard. It's on-street angle parking that's proposed as part of an amenity within the addition. These will be, the streets have yet to be constructed, but at this point in time, they are set far enough away from intersections, and at this time, with the proposed Verbena Circle being a 32-foot wide collector roadway, we don't see where this will present a significant issue for the neighborhood. So action will be at the discretion of the commission.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion concerning item 5F?
Move approval, the application.
We have a motion to approve item 5F from Commissioner George. Can we have a second, please? Can we have a second?
Barnell.
Okay, that's Commissioner Varnell with the second, I believe. Okay, so we have a motion to approve 5F from Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Varnell. Do we have any talk on this item? Okay, we're all set to vote when it pops up. To approve from Commissioner George, 5F, seconded by Varnell.
Commissioner Miller, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, the item has passed 8-0. Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you, commissioners.
Okay, we move on now to item 6, comments from citizens. Do we have anybody out there that wants to speak to the Traffic Commission? Anybody wanted to speak to Traffic? Item 6, comments from citizens. Okay, so we move on now to item 7, reports and other items from the Traffic Commission. So we'll go ahead and go down the roll here. We'll go to Commissioner Varnell.
I don't have a lot today. I would like to, we get more and more bike lane questions every meeting. I think that's something that we need to be more in the loop about this commission. I don't know. I know Bike Walk OKC is, they kind of make those decisions, but this is becoming more and more on our plate. And I don't know how we get involved with that more, or if that can be defaulted to us in a better way. But it's something I definitely want to know more about, and if any help that Stuart and your staff can help me with that, I would appreciate that. So besides that, also, we talked about in an email a little bit ago about June meeting. I know I can't be there. I know we haven't voted on that if we're going to have a June meeting or not, but I won't be able to attend if we do. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Commissioner Russell.
Nothing, no comments. Sorry, I want to apologize for everyone for my absence last week without announcing it. Somewhere between Sunday afternoon and Monday morning, I've just forgot. I have no other reasoning. It just, whew. Anyway, sorry.
Very good. Okay, go on to Commissioner Hale.
I would agree with Commissioner Varnell that I truly believe that we need to be more active and in the loop with the bicycle lanes, because the decisions that we're being asked to make are going to be affected, and we have no say on the bicycle lanes and their placements. So at some point in time, we need to really take a look at our involvement to see if we can become more involved in a coordinated effort between our commission and the bicycle folks. The other only comment I've got is the last couple of items that we looked at. If you look at the outlay of this new development, I believe Astor Circle at some point in time is going to come back in front of us due to its outlay. That if there was some way that we could coordinate with this developer to try to get these long streets, notice there is some, it's not just a straight shot, but it's straight enough where I believe that at some point in time that they're going to be coming before us asking us for stop signs. And if we could nip that in the bud now before this development takes off, I think it would be to the neighborhood's advantage and to ours. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on now to Commissioner Schuline.
Nothing really to report, but I do want to say thanks to Commissioner Varnell and Commissioner Hale on their comments on the Black Waco KC. I think that it is something that's important, and we're going to see more of it. And it's a good thing that we're being proactive about it. I think it's a good thing. I mean, thanks a bunch.
Okay, over to Commissioner Miller.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to report, I have viewed the videos of your March and April meetings and look forward to our next one. That's all I have.
Yes, sir. Over to Commissioner George.
I really didn't have anything until we're talking about the possibility of stop signs coming back later. This would be a question, I guess, for Stuart. Like those subdivisions that we just approved the parking in, have those already been fully approved through the Planning Commission? Are they platted, or the PUDs, or is that all, when we see it for this type of thing, it's already a done deal?
Okay, I don't know if I can answer your question offhand, but I know that we've received final plans, or received construction drawings for these particular streets. And typically those drawings are required in conjunction with the receipt of or the submittal of a final plat application. One thing that you don't see us do a lot is we will take care of a lot of basic intersection control as, you know, once subdivisions have been constructed. If you will look ahead to like our standing report at the end of your agenda, you'll see where there's a bunch of items that are approved, you know, that we take care of administratively. And they're all yield controls, and the majority of these are actually within new subdivisions. Right. Because the way our policies are set up, if we've got a new addition that comes in, or we've got an intersection that has no existing traffic controls, administratively, we can assign yield control on the minor street approach. So a lot of times in newer additions, if you were to drive through, you'd see that there are quite a few yield signs that are in place. And later on, after residents have been in place, you know, have been there for a while, sometimes we will see requests to have those signs converted from yield controls to stop controls. But for the most part, I think that the yield controls that have gone in have actually been fairly well received. So I think so far so good as far as how we're handling it. And most people, you know, they may not profess that they prefer yields, but I think a lot of people they're more inclined to yield when they come to an intersection necessarily than come to a complete stop. So yields are almost something that speaks more to human nature than a stop.
Okay. But like these two were just set up to go to final plat. They're not like talking about the length of those streets. If they're a half a mile long, we know that a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit is not going to be held to. But would there be an opportunity for us to say, well, why is this street so long, instead of waiting and worrying about speed bumps or other things down the road? Is that something that we have anything to say about?
At this time, that's not part of how the process is set up. I mean, the Traffic Commission does not look at planning applications as they come in. So there may be an opportunity for like a joint meeting between the members of the Planning Commission and the Traffic Commission if these are things that you would like to talk through with them, it may
Yeah.
be a great subject.
Well,
Or maybe just a note on our approval that, if it has not been finally approved, that maybe they need to look at it, that the traffic commission thinks that there might be some issues with the way these streets were designed. So anyway.
well, sir, years ago, our traffic common subcommittee has worked with the planning department, and we've asked them that when they do new areas and they approve new areas, that they consider traffic common and not to create a 35 wide street that's straight for a house.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, those are things that we asked them to think about, so we don't come back 5-10 years later and try to create some traffic common. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, over to Commissioner Cornett.
I think that's a great conversation, and a question that I had as well is kind of what's the process to maybe do some speed abatement on the front end rather than it coming back to us. But I'm glad that those conversations are happening, and I think that if that could be a conversation that we have with the planning department, I know I would be up for having that conversation. And then Commissioner Kula, you mentioned last meeting about having some ambassador type person kind of walk through the Bike Walk OKC plan with city staff and with a group of people who are invested in that process. All of the different commissions that are invested in that process. And I would like to volunteer myself to kind of be the person who kind of walks the line between the two and reports back to you all things that are happening, or brings people in if that's necessary to these meetings to have those conversations, or even just kind of talk to the commission or talk to the Bike Walk OKC folks and the rest of that group. I don't know what that's going to look like, but
yeah, that's right. We don't really know, but would anybody be in objection for Commissioner Cornett to be our representative from the Traffic Commission, talking to OKC Bike Walk and all those kind of things, to see where they're going and what they're doing, and provide them input from the Traffic Commission thoughts, and then also be able to bring some thoughts back to us? Anybody in objection to that? Okay, and
I second the motion.
Not a motion. I
think it's a great idea.
It's like our traffic common subcommittee that we have. They report and they go do things. So she'll be in charge of that. And then we'll see if it takes too much of your time. Maybe we'll ask if somebody could be a second person on that with you, if you feel that you might need some help on it. Sounds
great. Thank you so much.
Okay, good. No, that's good. Okay, Stuart, how do we make that? That's just going to be in the meeting minutes. We set that up, and she'll make contact with all people.
Well, I think, and maybe Commissioner Schuline might be able to contribute something to this, but I know that some of those, and so I don't know why there wouldn't be a reason why Commissioner Cornett could not participate as well. I mean, as long as the number of members of the commission remain sub-quorum, I don't see where there would be an issue with it. And we can certainly pass that on to planning staff to have an invitation extended to Commissioner Cornett.
Yeah, if you could pass it along when the meeting minutes are done up, and the words that we came up with and what her charge is, that we'd like them to include her as part of the talks on different things as appropriate. Okay, so Ms. Cornett, anything else?
No, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Mr.
Have
Chairman.
any input?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Was it ever determined the amount of, I'll say authority for no better word, has it been determined where the bicycle pedestrians and all of this falls under our responsibility as the Traffic Commission? are we strictly for vehicular or is it for all traffic?
I think when we talked about it, we made the call that anything that deals with the roads is ours, which deals with the bikes and the walk-in, and we do the signal lights and crosswalks and all that kind of stuff. Is that what you're asking, that we did say that all that falls under us?
That was my question, is
right.
Because it seems like we've got the Bike OKC folks and separate than what we do. And it seems like there needs to be, and I'm glad Commissioner Cornett's willing to, dedicate the time to do that, and appreciate Commissioner Shoeline and Littlefield what they've done up to this point. But it seems like we need to have a really well-defined coordination between the two groups.
Well, that was my concern back years ago with the Project 180, and then with the building of the conference center and all that. All that work was approved by City Council, and then we would just do all the actual cleanup at the end. And we would, when we went from all the one-way roads and we made them into two-way roads, and then the Project 180 and all that kind of stuff. That was my concern with the bike thing also, is this going to be a thing where we just do the official, this is how it is, and all the work and choices are done by other operations. So I think we're a little bit further along in our thought process, like with the planning commission. Our traffic common subcommittee has been working with them, so they front load some thoughts and all that. And now that we have Ms. Cornett there with the bike, so we're trying to stay one step in front, and so we're not just the final rubber stamper, I think. Am I wrong on that? Anybody disagree with what I'm kind of saying on that? Okay.
Commissioner, Chairman Kula, I know that at one of the most recent Bike Walk OKC online meetings, there was some discussion from some of the other people that were participating in that, where they were even considering, if the city was to make bicycle-related improvements, if it should be looking at, potentially reducing speed limits. So I tend to think that, that a strong presence for the commission in its involvement would help be able to at least guide them and give them another perspective as far as the decision-making process goes. So I will convey to the director of the planning department, the Commissioner Cornett's interest in being a part of future discussions on Bike Walk OKC. I'll make sure that gets done this week.
Outstanding. Thank you for that. Okay, any other traffic commissioners have any other input that they'd like to talk about before we move on to the staff and all that? Okay, Captain over there in the OKC police, do you have any input, sir?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I got you.
Okay, yeah, I made note of the motors in the beginning on the Wilshire, and we'll send them over there to try to get more traffic enforcement. This is my first meeting, so just introduce myself to everybody. Brett Henry down at the Bricktown station.
Welcome.
Okay. Well, very nice to meet you, sir, and we'll see you in person at the next meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your help, Captain. Basically, what we do is that kind of thing happens, Captain, that something will come up. We ask you to pass it along, find the right people, do the right thing. And then even if there's enough time, get some feedback. There was one time where we had them go, and within like 3 hours, they had 150 traffic tickets or something. So we just like to know that it got done and some of the input.
Yes, I don't doubt that at all. Sometimes people call in and wish they hadn't after that. They're pretty good about enforcing traffic violations.
All right. Thank you for your help on that. Yes, Jill.
Commissioner Kula,
Yes,
Stuart has been disconnected. He's reconnecting his phone at this time. There he is.
I got him. Okay. So we got the captain. What about Counselor, Ms. Rawson? You have anything, Counselor?
No, sir.
All right. Thanks for your help. Mr. Chai, do you have any input now?
No, I don't. I don't have anything else. When I was offline for a second, I don't know if the commission had talked about what they were wanting to do in the way of passing on the meeting for June.
Right, yeah, well, if you could let the city clerk's office know to remove the June meeting from the agendas or schedule or whatever, and our next meeting, if all the traffic commissioners are in agreement, we'll drop that June meeting, and our next meeting will be on the 19th of July. Everybody's okay with that. And Stuart, when you were off, I was just talking to the captain about a lot of times we just asked him to be the liaison for all the wards in all the different areas when there's something that we would like their help in. And then he, maybe if he has time at the next meeting, gives us some feedback back on what they saw when they went out there. That's all it was, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so all the horseshoe people have now talked. Let me give one last, anybody have anything that needs to be talked about? Okay, so the next meeting will be 19 July. We'll be in person up at the Horseshoe down at City Hall.